So Kay's specialty was trick skiing. Many think of it as the most difficult of the three main disciplines of skiing. So for those of you who voted to put Kay in this position, you were not wrong. Kay was a prolific water ski champion, one that came out of the state of Michigan, and we've had a few. Tony's here, Ty's here, as well as Gary. But she won many state and regional championships out of this region. But what sets Kay apart from most everybody else, she won 19 national championships, covering women's 3, women's 4, and women's 5 trick skiing. She qualified for the World Master Tournament, which is a tournament for people who are over 35. She won it twice, once in Montreal and 33 years later down in Mexico. And she has set national point records in women's 3, women's 4, as well as women's 5. As you very well know, if you're a slalom skier, running 3 at 35 is something that you would love to tell everybody, but not everybody would understand. And if you're a jumper, you may want to just ride away. And of course, if you're a tricker, all you want to do is be able to stand up. Well, when Kay began her skiing, the sport was in its infancy. This is the ski that she learned to do her trick skiing on. So as you can see, compared to what we're doing today, this is quite different. The interest and dedication to the sport began at home with her brother Lynn and her mother Helen. Her mom became a dedicated boat driver and cheerleader while Lynn set the schedule for the day, and it always began early. Well, Lynn's dedication to the sport was very strong. It didn't stop with the hours of practice and the traveling to tournaments. He showed others how to improve their skiing performance. This made a strong impression on Kay. Being an early and a young member of the Pine Riders exposed her to teaching and the techniques of coaching. She learned many of her skills in trick skiing from Gary and Tony Krupa, who were also Clark Lake boys and Pine Rider members. The Vermeulen family towboat, a Chris Craft Continental, which is still in existence today but hidden in a barn somewhere, was intimidating to Kay and Linda. So intimidating, in fact, Dad Link purchased something new and different for them, a fiberglass boat with a 60-horse outboard. So needless to say, the wake was lowered and this became the girls' boat. In the early years, while skiing in one of those coves, Kay met a boy with a Texas accent, David, who grew up in Texas but spent the summers at his grandfather's cottage at Clark Lake. Both David and Kay loved the lake, and as water skiing grew as a sport, they were all in. And they witnessed the changes, going from a wooden ski to something now that was a fiberglass composite. Advances in shapes and weights helped the skiers to gain an edge. Well, at the same time, their love grew for each other, and David and Kay married soon after graduating from Albion College. David went on to attend medical school and became a radiologist. All of these changes headed them to a permanent home in Austin, Texas. As Kay said goodbye to her family and her ski friends here in Michigan, there was an upside awaiting David and Kay. Leaving Michigan's short 100-day ski season to something down at Lake Austin that was 300 days, this new location allowed them to increase their dedication to the sport that they love. The Nichols house became an epicenter of sunshine, skiing, and fun. Local water ski club was very active and welcomed the growing Nichols family. Daughter Ashley and son Austin became a part of the local water ski culture. For Kay, dryland training was a fundamental in building up her trick run and her increasingly difficult tricks. At one point, this effort took an innovative turn. To enhance her training, they positioned a trampoline in the side yard and tied a handle harness to a tree. This became the training ground for all comers at the Nichols household. Kay's driving and teaching skill helped the locals, including future champion Iowa native Jimmy Seamers. Kay mentored Austin native Forrest Fisher on his way to becoming a national champion. And Columbia sent their national trick champion Camilo Espinal to the Austin household. Also in this household was Austin Nichols, her son, who was the Can-Am 1997 overall champion as well as the slalom champion that year. Well, skiing has evolved over the years. Now practice no longer takes place on a public lake, but on private ponds specifically for that purpose. David and Kay were members of one of them down there, the Austin Aquaplex. There was a strong Michigan contingent that would come down and visit either in the spring or in the fall. Dan Morier, Bill Murbach, and myself made regular trips down there to, get sore in the spring or extend your tournament season in the fall. Well, David and Kay's hospitality started at the airport. They would whisk you to their private pond where you could get a set in and then go to dinner and be sore in the morning. But of course, you were never sure if your sessions of soreness were from the set you took yesterday or the Texas whiskey you drank that night. Kay's Michigan connection remained strong. She came home yearly to see family and ski with friends. A visit always included her friend, her high school classmate, and a fellow skier whom she admired, Tony Krupa. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to the family so they can share with you some of her stories.
Where does one begin when faced with the task of describing who their mother was? I'm going to cry through this whole thing. Mothers are equally complex and simple, at least mine was. She was clear and mysterious, gentle and fierce, quiet and yet louder than the roar of 1,000 lions when she was called to it. That roar showed up most often at the lake. Clark Lake was the birthplace of her roar, and it all began here. That special place is where she grew up, where she learned to ski, and skiing became the greatest passion in her life, which she found here. Her devotion to this sport was unbelievable, really. I don't think that a single minute of her adult life passed when she wasn't spending some of that minute planning, thinking, worrying, practicing, or calculating her trick run. And the other part of that minute was spent helping another plan, think, worry, practice, or calculate their pass. I think she would be overwhelmed with gratitude and excitement if she could be here. I think there would be tears and a knot in her throat that would hold back the words. But eventually, I think she would choke out quietly the word grateful. I think that's all she could say. And I think our family echoes that sentiment. Her last words were, "We need to get a vest and the papers." And as a child, I heard those words when someone asked her to teach them to ski. The vest refers to a life jacket, and the papers were for the boat registration in case of being stopped by the lake patrol, which is because of her constant search of smooth water, she often broke the rules of the lake to get to that water. I think that in that moment, she was letting us know where she was going to be watching and waiting for us. At the lake, at her church, as she once put it. When asked why she didn't attend church on Sundays, her response was simply because when I fall into the lake on an early Sunday morning, that is my church. And that's a little bit about her.
You've heard a lot about her medals and the records, and it's incredible, but the other thing is everybody will tell you that my mom was a really great coach. And even today when I'm in Austin, at a restaurant or even on the streets, I'm not kidding about this at all, someone will come up to me and say, "Your mom taught me to ski." And I mean, she had this side hustle where she would teach people to ski on Lake Austin all the time. And so that's really special that still happens. But I actually think my mom was not a very good coach. And I'll tell you why. There's a line in The Matrix that Lawrence Fishburne says to Keanu Reeves that is biblical in nature. He says there is a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. Great coaches can know the path. My mom walked the path. She couldn't really give you any tricks or advice or mechanics that would make a huge difference. She would try and she would say a lot of great coach-like stuff, and it was pretty good, but she would mostly just say, "Do it again." Do it again, do it again, do it again, go again. Her mind and body didn't function in a cerebral or intellectual way. It was in her bones, it was in her muscles, it was in her DNA. She just did it. She found a lazy Susan somewhere and she would practice her toe tricks on that thing exhaustively. We've all been on it, we've all fallen off of it, but she would spin like a top. It was very impressive. She used to hold her breath and like spin around like a crocodile in the water, half in, half out, practicing wake fives and body overs. And flips even. I used to see her in the grocery store waiting for shaved turkey at the deli counter with her eyes closed, passing an imaginary hand behind her back, and people in the grocery store watching, just going, what's going on over there? She didn't talk a lot about her own skiing or her own technique. I never heard her brag or boast or say one self-aggrandizing thing about her skiing, not once. She just went and did it. And that's something that we all benefited from. We most likely didn't even understand it at the time, but to have an example, to have a mom or a wife or a sister or a friend like Kay that just went out and did it, that made it easier for all of us to go out there and achieve our dreams. We were lucky to have someone to watch and to see that it was possible. There's an expression I got from a tennis coach a long time ago that I really like a lot. He said, when you open your mouth, your brain falls out. And that always reminded me of Mom. She just did it. She didn't let her brain get in the way. She just walked the path. And in my opinion, that is as close as one can get to the divine in this life. My girlfriend Hassie, who never met my mom, but has an amazing intuition and touching understanding of who she was, said, the good ones get called home early. Almost done. Congratulations, Mom. You are a Hall of Famer. We are continually so impressed by you. I know you're out there somewhere skiing on an eternally glass calm lake where you never fall on ski line back to back. And your trademark smooth toe tricks are worshipped by the local ski gods. Thank you.
At the peak of her life was in Bakersfield, California, and Kay was getting ready to ski. Lisa Harrison was her arch enemy and her best friend. She didn't know she was her best friend until late in her life. But she was arch enemy too. And the arch enemy was sitting next to Kay's and my ski partner, Mark Austin, sitting on the shore, Bakersfield, waiting to trick. And
she looked like a queen, like she ruled the sport.
Lisa Harrison had ruled the sport before all this time, and she was she would get in your head. Lisa would. She was the best in the world at getting in your head. My ski partner, waiting for Kay to come up, and Lisa Harrison sitting right next to him. So he says, Kay's nailing her flip every time. Nailing her flip. So that freaked Lisa Harrison out. And Lisa Harrison was the second seed this year. She came up and fell on her first trick. Down. She came from the other end, fell on her second trick. She's down. So Kay didn't have anything to worry about, so she could go out and trick. The announcers were saying, now this is Kay Nichols. Where's she from? Somewhere in Texas? Okay. Well, we don't know much about her. She done won 4 or 5 times this time. We don't know much about Kay. Let's see if she's any good. And Kay goes down the lake, nailed it, nailed it, nailed it, nailed it, nailed it. God, that's so good. We've never seen it so good. So you're on the edge of your seat now, and she goes nail, 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 and perfect. She did 2 perfect, beautiful, never seen more beautiful tricking. They did not turn out video. So they say she's gonna have to do it again. It's better every time she did it. She got better and better.
Yeah.
And Lisa Harrison, I never heard what happened to her.
Well, Kay gave to the sport with love and devotion. She gave faithfully, with no questions or apprehension, accepting all who came with questions, confusion, lofty goals, and performance aspirations. This was all in a place going back to her days of her youth with her family, the ski club, then the fraternity of the skiing community. I can say with respect, pride, and admiration that Kay Vermeulen Nichols stood up on her last run.
Thank you all for being here. It means a lot, very much to us. Thank you.